Well, three House Democrats, Jillian, face potential disciplinary action in Congress and potential criminal charges from the feds after this scuffle outside an ICE facility in Newark, New Jersey on Friday. DHS says arrests are still on the table. For more on this, let's dig deeper with Tricia McLaughlin. She is the Public Affairs Assistant Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security. Welcome to America Reports in person.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice to see you in person.
It's great to be in person with you both.
So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has deemed it necessary for her to interject herself in an issue that would seem to have nothing to do with her district. And she's warning y'all, don't mess with the Democrat members of Congress. Listen to what she said.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on someone, on Representative Bonnie Watson-Coleman, or any of the representatives that were there, you lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Well, the problem would seem to be that those people may have been laying fingers or at least body slamming federal agents who were there. What do you say to the good Congresswoman?
I'd like to ask AOC, who does she want out of that detention facility? Is it the MS-13 members? Is it the known terrorists? Is it the child rapists? Is it the murderers? Who is she fighting for? Because she's not fighting for Americans. She's not fighting for American victims. And I'd like to lay out the facts. The fact that it was these three members of Congress who trespassed, broke the law, and stormed that ICE detention facility. They put law enforcement at risk. They put our detainees at risk, and they put our staff at risk. Had they asked for a tour, we would have happily facilitated one for them, but there was absolutely no notice. And the fact that they put hands, they body slammed, body rammed, push, shove, whatever you want to call it, it was assault on our ICE agents, and it's unacceptable.
Question about the mayor's office. They're arguing that when he was arrested, he was on public property. He had exited the DHS facility and he was outside whatever the gate scenario is there. So that somehow makes the arrest not only unlawful, but completely unnecessary because he was on his way out. What's your response to that?
If there was any civilian who had stormed an ICE detention facility, trespassed, and broke the law, they would be arrested. The mayor is not in any special position just because he's a public official. Again, if he had asked for a tour, we would have coordinated and facilitated one for him. That was not the case, and those aren't the facts on the ground. I know he'd like to whitewash them, but he did break the law, and we'll act accordingly.
And yet here's what Benny Thompson said about all of this. He said, quote, "The law is clear. ICE must let them in when they show up to detention facilities. ICE needs to keep its hands to itself and treat everyone with respect. They are officers of the law, not Trump stormtroopers. More oversight and more unannounced visits are clearly urgently needed." As you've said twice now, Todd Lyons has said that all you had to do was ask and you could come in. But Benny Thompson seems to be inferring here with what he's saying is, well, if we had have asked, it would have cleaned the place up and whitewashed it. I guess I still think back to the Joe Biden visit in El Paso, where they whitewashed the entire city.
And I have to know for Benny Thompson, is he aware that actually those three members who went on to storm that facility, eventually we actually coordinated a tour for them. So they in themselves in their press conference said, actually, they're good and proper conditions. So again, this is just a political stunt. I understand that mayor is running for higher office. He's running for governor, and he wants his 15 minutes of fame, and he's going to do that on the backs of our law enforcement, who are already facing a 400% increase in assaults against them. It's quite disgusting.
What about the other argument coming from the three lawmakers and the mayor, which is that because these illegal immigrants who are being held in these facilities are residing in their state, they are in some sense a sort of extended constituency to them?
Well,
does that hold any legal sort of merit?
They're in this country illegally, and they're under ICE custody. And we have some of the highest standards in the country. But I'm not seeing these Congress members, these mayors, going to their own facilities who are housing detainees that are U.S. citizens. They seem only concerned with illegal aliens. Again, I don't understand why they're fighting for members of MS-13, why they're fighting for murderers, child rapists. What about the American victims?
Yeah, the only thing I could think of, and other people have thought of, is if you could make it difficult to deport a gang member, you're not going to be able to deport any non-criminal illegal aliens. I want to ask you about another case that's pending now in the Supreme Court. This is the Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court for permission to deport some 176 suspected gang members who have been held in Texas, saying that they're dangerous. The petition to the Supreme Court says, in part, some 23 putative class members recently barricaded themselves in a housing unit for several hours, threatened to take hostages and harm ICE officers, as described in the appended declaration of Joshua D. Johnson, acting field office director for the Dallas field office of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Interesting in this case that you're not asking it to be decided on the merits. You're just getting the Supreme Court to weigh in on whether or not district judges can order these nationwide injunctions.
Yeah, President Trump has been facing a historic number of injunctions, and they're trying to make it more difficult for us to deport these vicious, violent, criminal, illegal aliens. I mean, for example, these 200 or so Venezuelans, they're not just your typical everyday Venezuelan. They are members of Tren de Aragua, which is a highly sophisticated gang. How does Tren de Aragua enrich themselves? Not only do they drug traffic, they traffic young women throughout the country, sex trafficking and labor trafficking. These are horrendous individuals who maim, rape, and kill Americans for sport. And these are the people that Secretary Noem and President Trump are trying to get out of this country and lock up. On the other hand, you have Democrats who are trying to keep them on U.S. soil and even free them onto U.S. streets.
Super quickly before we let you go, this gang, Venezuelan gang called Anti-Tren, is this on your radar? How worried should people be? Real quick.
They absolutely are. It's a smaller gang at this point. They are a rival to Tren de Aragua, but it's important to note because they're young, they are trying to establish themselves with turf, their own turf, and sometimes you see more violence because of that.
Yeah, they like to think of themselves as a sort of TDA on steroids.
Exactly.
All right. Tricia, it's great to see you. Thank you for dropping by. I hope this will be the first of many times.
Me too. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Great to have you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.